Yes. All right, just making sure that I got a signal for the signal response. Hey, I might have a signal going out there because it looks like people are responding to the fact that I'm going live right now. All right, let me close that page so I stop getting notifications. Okay, you know I'm clumsy. All right, y'all, how you doing? How you doing? It's time for a little bit of my side hustle, the signal response to the jam I do with Bill Whittle with the virtue signal. As we basically discuss, since it's the fashion to be a virtue signaler, if you will. Well, let's get down to what virtue actually is, because virtue seems to be something that's very distorted nowadays, and I guess people can just go ahead and define virtue on their own terms and do some unfair things under the guise of fairness and assume to call it virtue. So we want to see if we can get a more clear cut view of what virtue actually is. So we've been discussing a few themes and themes as well as perspectives, on what would be virtue, and see if we can crystallize it a little bit better, examining things like the classics, and of course, like the seven deadly sins and cardinal virtues and stuff like that, or from the angle that I come from, basing a clear perspective on virtue according to the Word of God, the Bible itself. And if you guys know me, it's not I don't come from a religious point of view. I'm not a religious person. I'm a disciplined person, as much as a knucklehead I am. But when people tend to ask me, "What's your religion?" or something like that, or say that I'm a religious person, I think, no, I'm not. I'm actually not a religious person. The Lord told us to go and make disciples. He didn't tell us to go make religious people. He didn't tell us to go promote a religion. He told us to preach the gospel. He told us to tell people of the good news. So in doing so, y'all, I don't get out and promote a religion. I get out there and I tell my objective or my commission as believers are to go and make disciples. So I'm not a religious person. I'm a disciplined person. As much as a knucklehead I am, it's like, well, what's your religion? I don't have a religion. I have a discipline. My discipline is the Lord Himself. The love of the Lord is what disciplines me, and that's what I respond to. So just want to make that clarification. So my fellow Christians out there, fellow believers, don't let anybody call you a religious person, and don't consider yourself a religious person, because a religion can't save you. It's being a disciple of the Lord. The Lord saves us. It's the Lord that we respond to. It's the Lord that we're supposed to be promoting, and who in our basis of definition. That's what we're defined by. This discipline in the Lord. He disciplines us. So that being said, y'all, that's what I bring to the table in the virtue signal, as we talk about these different principles and how people are virtuous with certain things. And in this one, we came to examining the virtue of money and how the culture perceives money or behaves with money and stuff like that. And once again, thank you guys for showing up. If you're new to the Virtue Signal, I hope that you guys will hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and stuff like that. My apologies if you don't get notifications. My work has been shadow banned for years. YouTube makes it pretty certain that people do not know about my content. You really have to dig for it. So I appreciate it, if you guys still try, and show that you want to see my content. Um, and of course, you can also keep in touch with me at bronzeserpentmedia.com. You can catch the works that I do there. I hope that you guys will find products that you find interesting, like my music project, 20 Pound Sledge. We got mugs, we got shirts. This one's looking a little, this one's got some miles on it, man. I'd be wearing the snot out of this shirt, boy. But people be asking about it. I say, man, what's up with that scripture? What does that mean? And stuff like that. So, people be asking you questions, man. It's a conversation starter. And it's a good conversation because it's based in the word. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, that you got my audio books, like A Solid Right Cross, The Flood Raven. Hope you guys will check out, my sci-fi epic of biblical proportions. So I hope you guys will check out some things there to help promote, Bible-based conservatism in the culture. And once again, y'all, thank you guys for showing up. If I don't catch you guys all by name, it's because I'm trying to stay focused, and I'm a clumsy host, so I'll do really easy. All right. So I was responding to folks who were kind enough to tune into our episode of the Virtue Signal. We were talking about money, 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 money. Yeah, I want to grab that bass guitar back there. Doo-doo, 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 All right, so let's go with we got Real DB1. And Real DB1 says, excellent discussion. And like I said, I like to read some, it's not always about the stuff that I disagree with. It's stuff that, I agree with too. And I really appreciate it when people say that they really like the discussion. Lonesome Dave says, I love and own your music. Right on, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. And sledge on. Yeah. Okay. I got to give a shout out to my sledge heads, man. It's like, I'll derail for that. No, just, okay. So, I like, I appreciate when people give like this positive feedback to the show. And the link to the episode that we did is in the description box. So I hope you guys go check that out. Let me see. Excellent discussion. Personal finance is definitely not taught enough. God does entrust us with resources to be used wisely. Okay, yeah, this is a great point, Real DB, because the thing is, what we're taught about money, there's a lot of stigma attached to money in the culture, and that's not just America. That's been a long time, man. I mean, before that, so you got this money, those who the materialism that's attached to it, the stigma of being this bourgeoisie of materialism, or just trying to keep up with the Joneses and this ruling class of people who have accesses to, the resources and material that they want. And anybody can, as long as you have even just a little bit more than with somebody else or not, people assume that they're entitled to it, or they want to promote this culture of envy regarding it and things like that. And it just puts people at odds with each other. And so it attaches a lot of, stigma on money, on wealth, resources, things that you may have, and it's unfortunate, that people will have these behaviors regarding money. As the word says, it's the love of money that's the root of all kinds of evil. And but that's what people need to understand. It's the love of money. And sometimes even the love of money can come in the form of like this sour grapes attitude. It's like you want it, and then you'll have a poor attitude towards money because you don't have it, and act like you don't want it anyway. And money is something that you despise, or people who have money or people that you despise. Things like that. This attitude can come out in many different ways, and we see a lot of that in the culture. And the funny thing is that despite these aversions that people will, and this negative attitude that people will have towards money and people with money, they sure do want it. You know how we know that they want that money? Because when they're demanding like, 16, 18, 15, 16, $18 an hour to flip a hamburger, well, they want that money, right? When they're demanding policies that that invade the fruits of somebody else's labor and their innovations and stuff like that, well, they want that money, right? So people, that's real greed, and that's not even a love of money. That becomes like a lust of money. But we know in context what the Lord is talking about when He's talking about the love of money. For lack of a, we're just going to head and get down to it. Yeah, these people, we could like go ahead and try to put a whole different kind of vocabulary in there, but when it gets down to it, it's like, look, when you put a premium on money and value money more than you value people, we gonna have some problems, right? That affection, that infatuation that you have in money, is misappropriated. You need to square that by God, so you know how to value people, before profits and stuff like that. Now, unfortunately, you have a lot of people that assume that the way that you show that you value people over profits and stuff like that is by putting the state in charge of it. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but I want to kind of bring it back in here, in basically talking about, your own resources, and like what Real DB1 was talking about, personal finance is definitely not taught enough, and God does entrust us with our resources to be used rightly. See right there, God entrust us with our own resources. See, a lot of people try to make Jesus out to be like this socialist, or this person who wants state mandated communal living and stuff like that, this communism model. And none of that is true. God recognizes our own property, right? He blessed us to be able to have that, and He expects us to be expects us to give freely. When I talk about give freely, I don't mean just giving generous. I'm talking about give freely as in free to give. When the state imposes like these taxes and stuff like that, that takes away your freedom to give. You can't give freely because the state is taking that away from you, right? So you have to be. We're supposed to be free to be charitable, and in a model where you're actually free and you're free with your own resources, you can create more jobs and create more ways to be able to help somebody to make money where you don't have to have such a charity dependent. You don't have to have such a charity dependent society because there's more jobs available, right? That's where you want to be, but that's robbed of us. We should be able to be a society where we're free to have people glean our fields, right? It's like where people can come in and say and try to help get themselves back on your feet by the fields of ours that they can glean through, right? And but the thing is, when you have people out there who are just greedy and feel like they're entitled and want to get away with as much as they can get away with, they'll come into your fields, and rather than glean your fields, they'll raid your fields. And when you try to tell them, say, dude, you can't do that, then they want to go to the state to make it legal for them to raid your fields, right? And the state's not going to make it legal for them to raid their fields. The state itself is going to raid the fields and then ration out what they think is good enough for the people who voted them the power to be able to do it in the first place, right? When you go to glean somebody's fields, you ain't supposed to carry like a flipping basket. You go in and you carry what you can in your hands, right? That's how you glean a field. You gotta have some, some sense of boundaries and some moderation. You don't just go in and act like a one-man locust crew and go in there and try to scoop up everything that you can in a basket and throw it in your truck and stuff like that. That's not how you glean somebody's field. And like I said, when somebody calls you and say, dude, man, you can't be just coming in and just ripping off my fields like that. Yeah, you can take a few things, man, but dang, this is ridiculous. Well, I'm entitled to something, and they want to go and tell the state. And like I said, the state's going to come in and they're going to take everything. They will end up taking everything. Right now they're inching closer and closer to it, right? Where we just have this communist model. And then the people who voted for it, they just get rations, and they're still not happy after they made it legal for the state, legal, quote unquote, legal for the state to rip people off, right? So all that to say, y'all, the Lord recognizes us being blessed to be able to have our own resources, and a communal society is supposed to be done by choice, not by state law. Jesus never promoted that. So folks they really need to understand that. Let's go on to let's see. Nathan C says, balance work, be fruitful, be productive, but above all, love your family. Okay, let's break that down a little bit. We got balance, okay, right? Gotta understand the balance of liberty. Do your work. Yep. Be fruitful. That's right. It's a commandment from God. Be fruitful, multiply, be productive. And but above all, love your family. See, I gotta question that. Above all, love your family? No, that's what's getting us into a lot of trouble. Above all, you love God, right? And maybe he's suggesting that that's a given, but maybe not, because there is a lot of people out there who think that, we'll talk about God, family, country. People say God, family, country, but they really don't mean it in that order. A lot of times when they say God, family, country, that's a lot of lip service to God. Really, they put family before God. In a lot of cases, people even put country before God. Patriotism, their affection for their country, their pride in their country, their nationalistic pride comes before God. And they'll, like I said, they'll throw God a bone and say, God bless America and stuff like that. But it's really America, the country, that they have the real affection for, not God himself. Right. And y'all, that's evident. That's what's getting us into so much trouble. That's why we're losing our country, because you have a lot of these patriots out there who love the country more than they love God. Right. And the only thing that God can do for them is bless America. Other than that, they're not really, unless God is going to bless America, they're not really interested in God. Right. Like I said, it's just a lip service kind of thing. So we're seeing a lot of that. And that's why we're losing our republic. We pretty much lost it. We lost our republic to the godless. Right. So, but when we're saying love your family, if you put your family before God, that's still a disservice to God. The best way that you can love your family is to love God first. But you see a lot of people out there, you got a lot of broken families out there, but people are taught you have to have this unconditional loyalty to your family. God doesn't say that. Matter of fact, Jesus says, I'll drive a sword between you and your family. It's better for you even to hate your family. right? Than to make sure than to not understand who I am, than to not pursue me. You'll do your family a disservice if you love them more than anything else. You'll do your family a disservice. You will do your country a disservice, right? But you have a lot of people. That's why I'm telling you, these kids go off to college and stuff like that, and they're being educated by the godless, being taught by the godless. And what you end up having is that you have these parents who are so desperate to try to maintain some sort of relationship with their kids that they end up capitulating to their kids, and their kids could be like off the deep end about sexuality and gender and all that sort of stuff, communist models, abortion, you name it. And then the parents just desperate to keep a relationship with their kids because that's what they think. They're supposed to think that they're supposed to have this unconditional, unmitigated loyalty to their family and to their kids. And that's what's enlightening. That's what makes a good parent, is that no matter what, you accept and your kids unconditionally, because that's what a good parent does. It's nonsense. That's why we're losing our country, because family is assumed to be your first priority. It is not. Your love of God is the first priority. And from there, the Lord edifies you with how to be with your family. That's how you make a solid family. But we're not taught that. We're taught to be that family is most important. It's weird when you got, and a lot of this narrative, well, it's both sides. Conservatives do it just as much as liberals do. But liberals made it an institution to break up the family, right? But at the same time, putting institutions of putting this propaganda in the culture of what it is to be acceptable. Not acceptable, but all accepting, because that's real love, is to accept any kind of behavior, right? That, and they're even in conflict about that, but that's what they promote, because, they want to promote themselves as the woke and enlightened culture and stuff like that. But that's what liberals do. And conservatives, on the other hand, it's the same way, this loyalty and allegiance to family and stuff like that. And they'll have these affections and affinities for their family and their blood more than they do for God. And it's evident, y'all. Look at what's happening to our country. And I'm pretty sure anybody who hears me saying this don't like to assume that it's their family. It's not their attitude. But hey, pray about it, because you never know. It could be you too, right? So, like I said, I question that. Love your family above all. No, love God above all. That's what we're missing in this country, y'all. I'm telling you, people don't love God above all. From there, right? It's also a lot. You got people out there saying, doesn't the Bible say love your neighbor as you would yourself? Yeah, but you forgot what it says before that. Love God with all your heart, mind, and strength. You got to have that in check first. From there, the Lord edifies you and shows you how to love others the right way, not according to what you think is right, because according to what we think is right, we screw people up, right? Don't love people according to what you think love is. Love people according to what God says. And we'd have a better society, but we don't have that. All right. Or we're losing that. We got, still some decent folk out there, some decent God-fearing folk, but it's coming in shorter and shorter supply. Let's see. We got Art Gow, Art G-O-W. He says, after a lifelong horrible with money type, as a lifelong horrible with money type, I could have wrote this. No, I'm just saying. It occurred to me as I watched this, money, like any other tool, be it a vehicle, a gun, a hammer, knife, or whatever, needs to be handled in a balanced way. Art Gow goes on to say, if you utilize it respectfully and responsibly, not too emotionally and not dispassionately enough, chaos and stupidity are guaranteed to follow. Thanks for the great talk, guys. Glad I learned this before it was too late. I hope it sticks. Hey, I hear you, man. And now I am definitely not one to give folks financial advice. It's not the Lord blesses people to be able to teach, and that's not a gift that I've got to be able to teach people about money. But I'm not in here so much talking about money. I'm talking about people's perceptions of money and how money is, a little bit of how money is dealt with in the culture, and how our behaviors and how our attitude affected in the culture and affected in terms of policy. I mean, man, we can get into all the academics and stuff like that. You want to talk about economics, and there's a lot of, flipping jargon that goes along with that and stuff like that. But, when we get it down to, I'm talking, flipping dinner table politics, man, them pocketbook politics. When you get down to that, where people can understand it, And even at that level, it's not even about people being understanding in application, because they'll take these same principles and they're just making ends meet, man. They're just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the government is taking a good chunk of that dollar in the first place that they're trying to make $1 out of, and they don't understand that this is what they vote for, and don't understand why their dollar doesn't go as far, So, but these come out of, but these are spiritual uh um attitudes. These are spiritual directions that people are going into, because they don't understand the spiritual implications of it. That's what you got to get down first, and then it becomes cultural, and then it becomes political, right? There's a stage to these things that people don't seem to understand. And like I said, I am by no means an expert in finances. I hope that's not what I'm trying to come off as. Like I said, I'm examining behaviors of these things spiritually, culturally, and then how it plays out politically. Um, so this is basically how you handle money. It is a tool. It's a tool for necessities. It's a tool for luxuries. It's a tool for your wants, and a tool for your needs. Bottom line is somebody has something that you value, and do you value it enough to be able to trade whatever money that you have for this thing? And do you value this thing enough to do the work necessary to get the recourse to be able to go ahead and get it, as opposed to spending a whole bunch of time and energy making a policy that demands that somebody relinquish what they worked for to facilitate you to be able to go get whatever it is that you want, or have it issued to you, or whichever. So these are attitudes, y'all, that we're having to deal with in the culture, and these are things that we have to be able to convey to people. These are reasons. And remember, y'all, a lot of these people, they're not subscribed to reason. They have an idea, they have an imagination of how money affects them, how they're supposed to be able to possess it, even though they think that money is not supposed to be a individual possession, but they want to be able to possess it anyway. And in this communal or social dispersal, right? So that's how they want it. And and when they don't get it, that's when you get these stigmas about money, and about greed and things like that. You're greedy because you want to keep your money. Like Thomas Sowell says, you're greedy because you want to keep the fruits of your labor, but it's not greedy for you to go and tell the government to steal it from somebody else so you can assume to enjoy it, right? So but when you understand that money, like a tool, and your tools, even your tools, is supposed to be your own possession, right? Do you expect the state to issue tools to you? No, you should be able to have the freedom to go ahead and get your own tools, and you should have the freedom to get your own money, not somebody else's money, to go get your tools. And the money itself is a tool to be able to build on the things that you want, or things that you need. Right? So all that stuff boils down to being your property. Even the money that you own is your property. Somebody, we'll talk about this a little bit more. Somebody tells me that I don't understand the purpose of taxes, and we'll talk about that in just a second when it talks about property. Let's see. But anyway, let's move on to if every Bonnie Barron, I think is how they're saying. Forgive me, Bonnie, if I'm saying your name wrong. Bonnie Barron. Maybe it's Bonnie Bear RN. I don't know. But anyway, says if everyone had $500,000, a loaf of bread would cost $1,000. And this is because in the discussion we touch on talking about if everybody just had $500,000, right? And some people, they think like that. Everybody should just be given this. Everyone should be given like a financial reprieve or something like that, and everybody should just be given $500. And actually, in a lot of sense, it's like, why don't you give us back that money? Not, and I don't mean like print it or whichever. Just give it back to us, because that $500,000 belongs to people, and some people actually contributed more to generating that $500,000 than a lot of other people. But the thing is, This person is yeah, correct. If everyone had $500,000, a loaf of bread would cost $1,000, and there's reasons for that. It's not just because of greed, y'all. It's not just a greed thing, like was where somebody who makes the bread is saying, okay, well, guess what? Everybody's got $500,000 now. You know what that means? That means that everybody with $500,000 can afford to pay $1,000 for it. So I'm going to go ahead and jack the bread price up to have $1,000. It's not necessarily going to become of that. And like I said, Thomas Sowell talks about things like this. I hope you guys, I'm pretty sure many folks in my audience, you already know who he is and have examined his work. But if you're not, hey, you want to get down to how to cow ate the cabbage in terms of the economy. Definitely, a jewel of a body of work to read is checking out Thomas Sowell, and I would be gleaning from his fields, gleaning from his field of knowledge. Praise be to God that I've discovered such work. In saying that, when if and I'm going to be paraphrasing here, a person setting prices out of greed, that's not really how it works. A person wouldn't do well, and it's not a wise thing to do, to set your price out of greed. There is setting your price out of what the market is willing to pay for. If you want to go ahead and push that bar, and you have a clientele that you're appealing to, or a demographic that you're appealing to, where you can set the price that high, then of course you can go ahead and do that. Doesn't make you a bad person or anything. Like, does it make you any worse than the person who'd be willing to pay such an amount of money to do that? No, because you're not making a product or yielding a service that you're thinking that, hey, anybody, I want to make this for anybody who can afford it. It's like, no, I've got an ideal demographic and clientele that I can appeal to, and I'm going to set my prices for that because I know that they can afford it, and they're willing to pay that much for this. That's not a bad thing. Okay, not necessarily. Sure, is it gratuitous or frivolous or anything like that? Yeah, but see, the thing that folks need to understand is that there's still redeeming value to that. If a person wants to buy a luxury, still yielding luxuries and having luxuries available, y'all, that still creates jobs. That helps because the people who are helping to sell that luxury, hey, that's money that they can put on their table too. It's not just one person, hey, I've got this luxury to sell. It's usually not that. They've got a team of people to help them sell these things. And that team of people, they've got families, or they've got expensive, and they got food, and they've got rent and stuff like that. So that yields jobs for them. So I'm not the kind of person who says, hey, you don't need, a Learjet or 5 jets and 5 homes and all that. So I'm not the kind of person to do that, because what I'm looking at is that it takes people to operate those planes. It takes people to operate them yachts, and stuff like that. That's jobs. All right. That's the ability for other people to support their families, pay their rent, pay their mortgages, put food on their table and stuff like that, clothes on their kids' backs and all that sort of stuff. So I am absolutely no judge. I don't care if somebody has luxuries. All right. Just like the Lord said to Judah, hey, Judah, leave her alone. What she does with her property is her own business. Right. But you got a lot of people out there who are a bunch of Judases who assume that they are more morally superior because they want to decide what other people do with their money and do with their property. All right. It ain't supposed to work like that. Even Jesus don't play that. Not even Jesus. Jesus himself doesn't play that, because that's a covetous mindset. And that covetousness turns to theft when you're telling the state this person should be redistributing their resources and stuff like that. That's covetous and theft. God don't play that. Right. So at any rate, and once again, thank you guys so much for showing up. I'm talking about the signal response. This is the signal response. This is my side hustle from the Virtue Signal, the jam that I do with Bill Whittle called the Virtue Signal. And I hope you guys check that out. I got a link to the episode that we actually addressed. And hopefully you guys find this content interesting, where you will support it, right? A little a tip for the tip jar, if you will, at the link to my website to keep this kind of content going. And hopefully, and I would like to be able to put these things in a more creative vehicle, y'all, to be able to relay these things to people in ways that they can, digest, rather than just, a talking head, if you will. So at any rate, a person assume if they're going to charge $1,000 for these things, y'all, the reason why that be not so much because of greed, but because if everybody had, like, you gave everybody a $500,000, right? Now, for a lot of people, that $500,000 is going to evaporate really fast. Or even if $1 million, let's say $1 million, right? What if it was $1 million? Everybody got $1 million. The reason why people would end up charging so much for everything else isn't just because, hey, people could afford it, but because they're gonna have to find a way to get people to work for them. Like, say for instance, if let's say if you had a fast food restaurant, right? You got a fast food restaurant, and all the employees got $1 million, you ain't gonna have nobody run that fast food restaurant because people are like, I got $1 million. I ain't going into work today. I got $1 million. I ain't gonna go flip burgers for the man, right? Janitors, whichever is, I'm not gonna be going in and cleaning up after somebody because I got $1 million, right? I saw somebody leave a comment basically saying the same thing, right? I saw somebody leave a comment saying, hey man, if people had $1 million, people wouldn't go to work, right? So what's gonna happen? If you don't have anybody to help you, if a fast food chain ain't got somebody to flip them burgers and stuff like that, make them fries and whatnot, if you don't have employees, well, guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to come up with a way to be able to get those, invest in robotics or something like that. That's going to cost money to have them made efficiently enough to where they can, I guess, run them, run themselves enough. The technicians that you're going to have to be able to maintain them and make them efficient enough to where they can just go ahead and do this whole thing. Or, you're going to have to like set your price really high to get people to come in. It's like, okay, I know if a person has $1 million, I'm not going to be able to pay them $18 an hour to come and work for me. I'm going to have to charge like what can I give you? $10,000? Do I got to pay you like $10,000 a day to come for you to work with me? Because you're gonna have to sell it like, look, man, that $1 million ain't gonna last you forever. You're gonna eat that $1 million up. Why? Because everybody in the culture is gonna have to be raising their price to get people to work for them. So that cost is gonna be able to be passed over onto the consumer, and we're gonna be back to square one. The prices are gonna get jacked up really high, and good luck with them coming back down because now people are gonna be able to see that. Well, I guess people are willing to pay for this, right? And it's going to be check out practically a miracle to get the prices to come back down again. So it's not just out of greed that people will set their prices high, adjusting to all of a sudden people having $1 million in their bank account. You're going to have to get people to come back and work for you because nobody's going to work, right? I got $1 million, man. I ain't going into work today, right? Dang it, man. What if I gave you 50 G's? Come into work today. I need somebody to work, right? So that's one of the, the reasons that the prices will get jacked up and it'll be $1,000 just to buy a loaf of bread. Let's see. Tarkalai. Okay, this is the YouTube user that I was talking about who says that I don't seem to understand the purpose of taxes. Okay, let me see. I'm assuming it's like why? I'm like wondering what did he hear aside from me basically saying that that my understanding of taxes conflicts with this delusion of what he feels entitled to. I guess maybe in that sense, he doesn't think that I understand taxes. I've, like I said, I don't assume to be a financial wizard or a tax scholar or anything like that. And I do understand that there are things that do need to be paid for with taxes. However, my disagreement with the usage of taxes is how it's acquired. There's a tax model that we have, right? And people will talk about, well, we need money for roads and we need money for infrastructure and all that sort of stuff. I'm not arguing against that at all. The problem with is the justifications to make an institution of theft. That's the problem. People will come up with all sorts of justifications to be able to get into people's pockets. It's all based on covetousness. And it becomes an institution of theft. Covetousness itself is instituted, and it violates our right to property. Our money is our property, y'all. You earn the money. It's your property. It is against the Constitution to deprive a person of their property. You can't do that, right? So when people are taxed, when your income is taxed, that is a violation of your property. Now, we do have a tax model where where the government does have the power to tax imposts, the duty taxes and stuff like that, excise taxes. The government has the power to do that. The government does not have the right to contradict itself and impose on your property. You are not supposed to have your income tax. Property taxes are another gross infringement of our rights. You're not supposed to be taxing people's property into perpetuity. You're not supposed to do that. Property tax, hello. Right? It's your property. What are you doing taxing somebody's property into perpetuity? You're not supposed to do that. Gross conflict with the Constitution, right? So in terms of taxes and how these things are allocated, how these things are delved out into paying for infrastructure and things that we have to maintain our republic, that's one thing, and I don't assume to be an expert in any of that. However, in terms of how this money is acquired by the actual generators of revenue in the private sector. That's something else. Or how another nation wants to do business with our country, and if they want to be able to, we have a right to say, hey, if you want to do business here, that's great. We welcome that, and this is our impost on that for you to do business here. And it's not something that you can force them to do, because they can only do business here by choice. But if they choose to do business here, then you have the right to be able to say, okay, well, this is what it's going to cost for you to do business here, and you can tax them on that. Yes, right. But it has to be out of a choice. Right now, people are being taxed not out of a choice. You're taxing people's income. The people don't have a choice in that. And that's not constitutional at all. But when you engage in commerce and you exchange, when you engage in exchanges of goods and services and stuff like that, when you choose to do that and there's a transaction, then yes, there's your excise, and the government does have the right to tax on that. You know, that's constitutional. And I don't even care if they impose a VAT tax. That's okay. If a person is going to be to recover their costs and whatnot, to be able to do that, that's fine. The biggest issue I have with a VAT tax, and it's a logical conclusion, y'all, for VAT tax. If you're going to have excise taxes and stuff like that, and you're going to be developing goods and services on the way for one stage of development for people to buy until it gets to retail, y'all, that's totally understandable, right? You're paying for time, labor, resources, and stuff like that, and you're choosing to engage in that. That's not a problem with VAT tax. The problem with the VAT tax is all the other taxes that are surrounding it that are already imposed on us, especially these property taxes and the income taxes, you know, that's already imposed. These things aren't supposed to be there. That's what makes the VAT tax so cumbersome. You know, these mounting taxes that are already on these things. So that's something that we have to deal with. And it should be abolished. You know, it should be totally ruled out. Let's see. Let's go on to James Doe. James Doe says, first off, we would have to do a huge reduction in government so that most of us would be able to hang on to more of that money. Okay. But in all, I think most people would blow it on crap they don't need. Okay, careful. You're going into Judas territory right now. Hey, that's very true, but you know, don't assume to judge what people do with their money. Be careful with that. Instead of teaching transgender acceptance and wokeness in school, the focus should be on our Constitution, use and safety of firearms, and of course, finances. Okay. Yeah, I can dig what you're saying, Jane. You know, so no need to reiterate that. But let me address my concerns. Let me address my concerns with that. Okay, she says, first off, we would have to do a huge reduction of government. Okay, why is it that we have such a liberal-sized government as opposed to a more conservative-sized government, right? Well, okay, that's what, you know, conservatives keep saying. Right? Smaller government. We need lesser government, you know? And why do you think we have such a bigger government? You know why we have such a big government, y'all, as opposed to your desire, you know, to have smaller government? Because it's not taught in the culture that God is sufficient. That's why. Like I said earlier, you have a lot of conservatives out there. Their real affection is for the country, not for God himself, the one who blessed us to be able to be here, the author of liberty himself. Right? Jesus is the author of liberty. He is liberty, right? He is the law of liberty. But you have people who their God, their idol, conservatives, their idol, and liberals too. Liberals because they've got a twisted idea of what liberty is, right? Conservatives have more of a focused idea of what liberty is, but the problem is that they worship liberty itself. Liberty is their God, right? Not God himself. It's all about liberty for conservatives. Liberty, right? So they have this premium and they idolize liberty. And that's how we got in the situation that we're in, because their focus is on that. Studying liberty, studying the classics and studying the founding fathers. They have such a fan geek on the founders and the Constitution and all that sort of stuff. But God, God, we like him too. Right. And you wonder why we're losing this republic. You know, so the thing is And when we talk about a huge reduction on government, well, the reason why people feel like you have to there has to be this fortified government and all these departments and all this bureaucracy and stuff like that is because people don't understand the sufficiency of God, El Shaddai, whose name means the sufficient one. That's why people are trying to fill this void, and they're trying to fortify the state to be their God that's gonna facilitate what they want and what they need. That's why we have such a big government, and conservatives suck at selling the fact that God is the sufficient one. We talk about God bless America and all that sort of stuff, but you really don't see him as the sufficient one. And that is why we have this bloated government. If you understood that God is the sufficient one, right? That Yeshua is the one who already saved this country, then you would be able to have a conservative-sized government. And people wouldn't be looking for the government to be their pseudo-sufficiency. That's why we don't have it. But we're supposed to be a self-governing people. We're supposed to have a government that is supposed to help maintain our rights, not be all liberal with writing a whole bunch of laws and stuff like that. But that's not what we have. And that goes on conservatives and it goes on liberals. Libertarians, I don't care what part of the political spectrum you're in. The word of God is what's not promoted, and the word of God is not seen as the sufficiency that our elected officials should be abiding by, right? We don't do that. So we're not stocked with God-fearing officials. We're not stocked, we don't have a voter base that's out there really saying, hey, we need God-fearing. We need really not just patriots. That's what conservatives we want. We want a patriot in there. We want somebody who loves this country. No, you need a candidate who loves God. From there, if you have that, loving the country will fall into place. But that's not what you guys get. You guys are constantly disappointed, right? And it's like folks don't learn, man. I'm telling you, you have too much. Your focus is too much on the country, not enough on God, right? And without that preservation power of God, that salt and light preservation, our country is just eroding away. Y'all, it's decaying. Folks got to learn the hard way, man. I'm telling you. Okay, and then she goes on to say, let's see, just like what I was saying earlier, this person is talking about, but in all, the most people, instead of teaching transgender acceptance and wokeness, I agree with that. Yeah, you shouldn't be teaching that, wasting that time in school. The focus should be on the Constitution, use of safety of firearms, and of course, taxes. Okay, well, where's the focus on God? Where's the focus on the word of God? Why this premium on the Constitution? Why that? How is the Constitution more important than the word of God? According to the founders, that's who they were appealing to. That was important enough for them. The founders said in the Declaration of Independence, appealing to the supreme judge of the world. That's God. That's Jesus, right? It was important to them. How come it's not important to this person? How is it that the Constitution means more than the word of God? How is it that firearms means more to this person than the word of God? How is it that money and knowing how to manage your money, if you got the word of God in you, that's a great tool. That's a great manual for managing finances, right? So, but this is why, y'all. Look at what this person has put as the premium, not God. And y'all, that's why we're losing it. We're losing it, y'all. So, when this person, and where are we going to learn these things? So this person said we should focus on the Constitution, safety, fire. Where are people going to learn this? Because you got a lot of conservatives out there who recognize that our school system is an indoctrination system. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, they're saying we need to get our kids back in school. That doesn't make any sense. Why are you in such a hurry to send our kids back to be educated by the godless, to be educated by these Democrats? You know that they're indoctrination camps. Why are you in such a hurry to send the kids back to them? Doesn't make any sense, right? So a lot of self-righteousness is governing the way we behave, and it turns out to how we behave about money. Because these people, the same when you have conservatives are doing themselves a disservice. When you have conservatives out there saying we need to get our kids back in school, you just open the door wide open for Democrats to come in there and use children and use education as a means to be able to tax people more, right? And then the taxes go up because under the guise of caring about the children and their education and stuff like that. You can't blame Democrats for that. Conservatives have to assume some responsibility for that because you just open the door wide open for Democrats to do that. You see what I'm saying? That's how we get our money messed up. That's how we get robbed of our money. That's how we get our rights violated, our right to property violated. So conservatives really need to be careful about the things that they open up, and they do it over and over again, man. They keep opening the door up for liberals to just come in and screw us, screw everybody, right? So anyway, that was what I had got for that. Those are some comments, some feedback that I got back that I found kind of important that I could address. Let me see. And in the meantime, let me holler at y'all a little bit. Thank you. I want to say thank you guys for showing up. I see let me see if I can scroll through these real fast, man, because you know I so appreciate you guys being here. I got my Saldrin, your beekeeper. All right, what's up? Okay, give me right now I want me a peanut butter and honey a honey sandwich. Peanut butter, banana, and honey. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, you got me thinking about honey, your beekeeper. Let me see. Got Urban Interface. Lonesome Dave, what's up, man? Yeah, that's right. Sledge on, Lonesome Dave. We got Zenobia. What's up? Thank you for showing up. Magnus Freitor. I hope I said that right, man. Kenneth Dillard, Art L. Who else we got? We got Tyrone Smith. Thank you guys so much for showing up in there. Let me see. I appreciate when people realize. Let me see. What you're saying there, Tyrone. As an engineer who works at a business jet company, I appreciate it when people realize that it's better when rich people spend on luxury items and then than them just sitting on their own money in the bank. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not crazy, man. You see what I'm talking about? It's not like they're just like you said, they're not just sitting on their money in a bank or a mattress or anything like that. Man, them luxuries, that's just jobs, man. That's jobs, dude. Let's see. Restoring Heroes Project. Hey, what's up, man? Restoring Heroes Project. Make sure you guys look him up. Look up his podcast, man. You'll get you, but just right when he starts his show, man, he's getting you pumped, motivated, just barking with the word of God, man. I'm telling you. We got Restoring Heroes Project in there. Let me see. Lonesome Dave. I already said hi. What's up, Lonesome Dave? There is no Dana only Zoo. That's a classic line, man. There is no Dana, only Zoo. Yeah. Let me see. Tisha Morgan. What's up? Thank you so much for showing up. Nomad. And Dennis McKerney, gun lover. Right on, y'all. Thank you guys for showing up. Appreciate you. Thank you for going. Lonesome Day said he went to that tip jar. That's what I'm talking. Thank you, man. Thank you for helping Bronze Serpent Media to try to keep the lights on, man, and keep these episodes coming to you. And appreciate your prayers. The more you support, the better I can make these predictions and be free. Get free from YouTube, where I don't have to depend on their platform. We can. We'll make our own enterprise, man. But in the meantime, I want to be able to, beef up these productions for you and get them to you in, more interesting ways if I can. Still keep the integrity of the content, keep the message the same, keep it truthful and stuff like that. Not compromise the message, but bring it to more folks in ways that they can relate to and stuff like that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Blessings, and we'll see you next time in the Signal Response. In the meantime, hope you guys check out the Virtue Signal with Bill Will and I. All right.